Hello everybody and welcome to another video. The new patch is live of the mega servers. So today, you'll have to excuse the way I look. I know it's a little bit messy. This is my weird healing power build I've been playing with. I've played the new patch a lot. I want to make a video here to talk to you guys about the changes of what exactly is going on. And actually as well, at the end of the video, I want to talk about a bunch of stuff that changed in the patch we didn't already know was coming. For those of you who have been following this very closely, you're aware of what many of the changes were already. However, there have been some changes to what they initially stated and some just completely new things I want to draw your attention to, all the way to as big as a new PvP map. So first of all, I got a lot of messages, okay, I'm not going to lie, from people saying, hey, this patch is kind of confusing. And yeah, I thought it was kind of confusing too with the UI. But once you get used to it, it should be pretty simple. I want to just run you guys through the most basic stuff. First of all, let's talk about the wardrobe. This is probably the biggest thing that's changed with the game. And honestly, I find the best way to explain it isn't to press H and look at your new hero panel, which looks obviously quite different, but instead to just go straight to your bank. The wardrobe basically means any skin you ever have on your account now is a permanent unlock rather than something you destroy. For example, on the gem store right now, the devs are selling a new set of armor, one for each armor class, which they often do with a new patch. These ones here, these new armor skins. Previously, if I'd bought this rampant heavy armor skin, because I thought it looked cool on Asura, and it does look pretty interesting, and I eventually decided I wanted to change the gauntlets, and I wanted to transmute those gauntlets and apply another skin, I'd lose those gauntlets forever, and that would really suck, especially considering you could have paid real world money for these had you chosen not to, you know, convert your gold into gems. That really was quite lame. Under the new system, once I buy this, it's just unlocked for my account. It's there forever, and I can transmute it on and off whenever I like. And indeed, for one of my old armor sets, which was the Flame Kiss stuff, which was a gem store set, I've been doing exactly that. This is obviously a totally new, crappy, just regular crafted armor set, but you get the picture. However, the way this all works is best explained through the bank, where you now have a new tab called Wardrobe Storage. I believe in the blog post before this came out, they were referring to this as the Vault, though this is not a term that actually appears in game. Oh no, I tell a lie, it's actually right there, account full. So here you can see you've got a bunch of different things you can filter through. You've got armor, weapons, and outfits. Outfits are what your town clothes used to be, and by clicking on them you can see you might recognize this as the Bloody Prince set. This one was the cook set and so forth. These are now all combat items as well, which is pretty cool. I actually don't own any of them as far as I'm concerned. I do have the Mad King. I know I do actually have some, but they didn't seem to unlock for me, which is kind of curious. I believe there's like a vendor thing you've got to play around with. Anyway, you've got the outfits there, but then you've also got all the armor skins, which you can then filter through light, medium, or heavy. So I'm a light armor class, say an elementalist. And you can see now all of these skins, just like the PvP locker in PvP, are now basically over here in the PvE environment. And I've got quite a few because having played a lot of PvP, it's now merged my wardrobe with my account vault in PvE, which is pretty good. Look, I've almost got all the headgear done. I just need the benthic aqua breather. A really cool feature of this as well is just as you click through, it automatically keeps cycling things. You don't have to keep right-click previewing, which just is awesome for quickly cycling through to find your perfect look. For example, my main character, I've always used this lightning catcher. Actually, I've used the wind catcher on my main, and I'm actually kind of bored of it. And now after this patch, I can cycle through all of the different back pieces I've ever had unlocked and settle on one that I really enjoy. So this because it's very big and obnoxious. Or I can get very sad because there's ones that I haven't unlocked that were maybe only temporary for the game for a while. But that's something you're going to have to deal with. The devs did bundle in. There is a very cool idea of saying, hey, I want to complete a collection. Look, I want to get all the light gloves. There is this cool idea. However, they have just bundled everything in together, including exclusive skins you may never be able to get again, like, for example, the fused gauntlets. I, in fact, do have these. I have a ticket in my bank, and I can use these to demonstrate to you guys how the unlocking process works. See, this is a grayed out icon right now. However, if I go to my regular bank, which is this tab up here, and I find in my old personal or living world stuff here, I've got this fused gauntlet ticket. I like the gauntlets, but I never wanted to use them before because I never found a great opportunity to, right? So now I can just unlock these, double click, which actually summons a vendor. This is quite an old system. I can double click it, create the vendor here, the Vigil Requisitioner, and I can, I only get one of these tokens, so I can actually buy for one of the armor classes, and I guess I'll go light. Now here's the thing, I don't know whether they're going to unlock it for heavy and medium for me, so you can see straight away, you're only ever going to be able to complete one gauntlet set, unless you happen to have been a PvPer that unlocked them all in PvP. And that, again, it was a one-time opportunity many players won't have again. So this big idea of being able to unlock... Oh, no, there you go. It unlocked all three. However, this big idea still stands that to try and unlock everything in the game may be an impossible endeavor for you, which is a shame, I really think, because this would certainly be something that keeps a lot of players in the game for a very long time. But there you go. Now that I have unlocked these, and I filter by light, and we go down to our gauntlets again, which are here like gloves, you will see at any time I can click these light fuse gauntlets and equip them. How do I equip them? This is just listing stuff and all the stuff you haven't got unlocked. Well, you do that through the hero panel. So in the hero panel, you get basically the same UI. But again, you've got 3 different sections now. Really, it's very basic. If I click equipment, this is what we always had in Guild Wars 2. On the left, these are things that I can equip in my inventory. So, for example, I've got my fractal dagger that I could equip in my offhand. So, say, right now I've got my staff on. By the way, yesterday during the patch day, I crafted the Bifrost, which was pretty awesome. It was a mad rush. There was so much stuff going on the TP, and I actually managed to make some money out of it. But yeah, so say I've got the Bifrost equipped, just like on the old system. I want to go back to my Meteorologicus and Incinerator, because I'm such a badass, and I've got so many legendaries now. We do that, and there you go. You've got your stuff out. That's exactly the same as it used to be. However, here we've got 2 new sections. Dyes is one of them. And again, this is almost exactly as it used to be. It just used to be something on the equipment section. You'd click up here, right? And it would just toggle into the dye thing. It's now just over here. There are some refinements and features here. You can now more easily pick the color you want to choose. Like, these were features that were in the game, but they're more clearly displayed now. And you have to, like, click to here to confirm when you're applying dyes, but largely the system is the same. What's new is this one here called the wardrobe, and I'll reset that there. The wardrobe allows you to select any skin you've currently got equipped. So say I want to change my chest piece, and here it will give me a list of all of the chest pieces we just saw in our account vault. These are all the ones that are unlocked. It doesn't waste your time by showing you all the ones you don't have unlocked in your hero panel, because really that's not necessary. That just is shown in the bank. Here are all the ones I do have, and I can just click through to really nail down my perfect look on this heal set. So maybe I'll be like, that one looks pretty cool. What was that? I just had the nightmare, was it on? Yeah, I might be like, oh, this nightmare set looks really good, cool for my healing power, Ellie. And once I've decided my chest piece, I can then maybe click to my gauntlets and be like, alright, well, I picked nightmare before, why don't I pick nightmare again? And down here we'll go nightmare, and we'll just find all the nightmare pieces, except maybe on the shoulders. I don't like nightmare because they're these huge ridiculous things that come flying out all over the place, which I'll show you guys. These things here, maybe I think these look obnoxious, and so instead I'm going to go for this little bone thing over my shoulder, right? And then I've decided, right, I've settled on my look. I think this is pretty cool. This is the kind of thing I wanted my heal power Ellie to look like, and I can click apply to just on the fly change exactly how I look, and it hasn't deleted the previous skins I had on. Now, this does cost something called transmutation charges. You'll see I've been generously given 148. This is because I was given 1 for every rank in PvP I was able to attain, and they retroactively buffed everyone's PvP ranks recently. Me, all the way up to 80. I'll talk about that in just a second. These things are not very hard to come by. I believe you can still do map completion of cities to unlock lots of free charges at your will. They're also giving some away for free on the gem store right now, and the system is a lot more generous than it used to be with transmutation charges, as well as a lot less destructive. So here, this will cost me 5 charges out of 148 for the video. Why not? So here you can see in the real world, I look like my old rubbish self. However, as soon as I click apply, boom, I have changed to my new set. So there you go. Now I look a little bit more evil. I went with the blue theme because I'm a healer and I don't think it really pans out. Dyes are working in the same way, except they're free. So here I can click my chest piece, but instead of clicking the full chest, I'm just dyeing specific sections of it. And over here again, I want to apply charges. What you'll find interesting about this charge system is some things actually cost you 0 charges to swap. Namely stuff like the Hall of Monuments skins. But previously in the game, if I wanted to keep swapping around Hall of Monuments skins that I'd unlocked from Guild Wars 1, I'd keep having to go back to the Hall of Monuments, and it was a hassle. However, now I can swap away from my Hall of Monuments skin, which would cost me, say, 1 transmutation charge, but then to swap back, which I guess I'll do here, see? To swap back to this Ice Lord's diadem, it's actually completely free for me, and this is really cool and something that you can see spread out to certain other items in the game too. So I'll go back to it. I actually don't think the diadem looks that great, but there you go. It's not really a skin I've played around with that much. That's how the wardrobe works. In a nutshell, that is it. It's opened up a lot of possibilities for you to really respect the skins that you want to go for. I got the Bifrost yesterday, as I said, and I'm really happy with it, knowing that no matter what character I go to, I can actually put that main weapon on that character now, or I can just use that skin on anyone I like. I've been key farming recently, and in my bank I've got a bunch of key farming gear, and I can actually put really cool stuff on that now. I've been key farming on a Guardian, so as you guys can see down here, my little key farming section, account bound low level gear that makes me wreck face as a level 1 dude so that I can get keys quickly. Here I've got a staff, and previously I had the Hall of Monument staff on it. I can make that the Bifrost now. I can be running around in the tutorial instance with a Bifrost. How cool is that? And you can do awesome stuff with all of your gear too on the other slots, and in fact I think you can even get shoulders and helmet through some weird ways. So yeah, that's what's going on with the wardrobe. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. That's probably the biggest, most significant thing. Many of the skins you see that I've unlocked that came from PvP, you do have to go to the Heart of the Mist for, so I will warn you about that. But once you've logged in all your characters and been to the Heart of the Mist, everything should have unlocked for you just fine. When you unlock skins now in the new game, there will be footage of this, I'm sure. It shows you in the bottom right where, say you used to get achievements, hey, you've now unlocked this skin, you've now unlocked this skin, and so forth. Unlocking skins is really easy. You can just right click them and select this new thing here, unlock skin. You can make stuff soulbound to unlock skins. You can salvage stuff to unlock skins. Anything you want to do, but basically if you unlock that skin, it makes it no longer sellable. That's sort of the common theme, and it makes sense if you really think about it. Now, these transmutation charges aren't just visible from when you're actually messing about in the wardrobe. They've actually appeared in your account wallet too, which is pretty cool. I like the idea that there are players out there who haven't played Gw2 for ages. And obviously, like, the last big feature we kind of had was the wallet. And now we've got a new bunch of features that are folding into the previous ones they added. But you can see Glory used to exist here. That has now been replaced with transmutation charges. Quite an efficient way of them using the UI here. And that is because Glory is now completely irrelevant. The entirely new reward system is in PvP. So let's go have a look at that. And see what we think about it. I think it's pretty good. You'll see we've now got a new tab called Reward Tracks. And this is how we are rewarded for doing stuff. All that old stuff that used to be in PvP, PvP crafting, all the old boxes and unlocks like that, they are all gone. Here in my bank, I have a completely empty tab. This tab here, this was full of arcane dust. All these slots here were full of PvP mats. I've still got some. They never removed the really old ones, the free tournament tokens. So now I feel all cool because I've got this really weird legacy item. But these have all just automatically been removed from my bank, which is a bit disappointing. They had announced to us they would add a vendor that we could sell them to, and I've been clogging my bank up for so long, hoping to sell them, and then I wasn't really compensated. But hey, I've been getting down people's throats for arguing about compensation lately, so I won't myself. But yeah, this stuff has now all been removed from the game, and instead we have these reward tracks. These are really cool. The UI might look a little bit complicated, but it's actually quite simple. Here are the reward tracks currently available. I can choose to represent any of these I like, right? So let's say I want to represent this one, the Balthazar back item reward track. This means that while I PvP, as I win matches, I get rewards. The first reward I get here is a Champion Hound of Balthazar loot box. It's basically like a champion box, and it says to me that it contains champ bags, dragonite ore, and imperial fragments. I win some more games and I'll get some molten slivers. I win some more, another box, and then fragments, and then later on I'll get molten shards. At the very end of the line, once I've won enough games, I unlock a new unique back piece skin. This is almost like, imagine for Living Story, you know how we have meta achievements that come out with Living Story? Well, now these are like meta achievements for PvP. This is the meta achievement, or the reward track, for the current patch, the Balthazar back item reward track. However, in addition to like a flavor of the monthly one that changes with the patch, this will only be available for a while and then it'll go away. They also have two other types of tracks. This is the first one. These are dungeon tracks. As time goes by, so you can see right now, the dungeon track currently available for players is the ruined city of Ara. Should I choose to represent this instead of the Balthazar one, as I complete matches, I'll instead be rewarded with different stuff. I'll get Zaitan loot, and this contains champion bags probably that you would find in Ara. Later, I'll get Ara weapons from the dungeon without actually having to play the dungeon. This is a way for PvP players to get those skins without having to lug their way into the PvE content. And further it rises. We get better stuff as we go along, until the very end, I get an Ara armor box. However, different to this previous one, which is like a one-shot thing, you unlock the back piece and you've completed it, this Ruined City of Ara track is repeatable. That's what this little circular symbol here means. It means once I get all the way to the end and I get this really cool armor box, I can repeat it. So the first time I do it, I get one piece of armor, do it again, I get the second piece, do it again, I get the third, and so on. This is only available for a short period of time, and then the devs will swap it out for another dungeon. These are done on 2-week periods, I believe. However, if you go back to PvE now and recomplete all your story modes, you'll unlock all of the dungeon tracks right away for yourself for permanent access without having to rely on ArenaNet's rotation. So, if you play both PvP and PvE, you get that nice little perk. Stuff like the one-time thing, like this Balthazar back item that can't be repeated. They actually have filters here, and you can see the one here is called complete. So once I have completed the Balthazar back item, it will go into complete. And so if you keep on top of this for PvP as the patches go out, this will slowly fill out a lot like your hero panel would with the historical meta achievements. It's very similar, right? So that's how that works, and here are all the locked tracks. There is a third type of track, okay? We've got the Balthazar one, we've got the dungeon one, and there are also region tracks. These are also repeatable, so I can keep going through it, and at the end I'll get this Kryta weapon skin box. But these are themed after different regions in the PvE world. So if I'm representing this, I will be rewarded as if I was fighting in Kryta. And these are the kind of champ boxes that I'll get, and the rewards will be suited for that. However, what's kind of cool about this is, yes, they're repeatable, but once I complete it for the first time, it actually unlocks another region for me. So right now, I only have Kryta unlocked, but once I've completed Kryta, I will maybe unlock the Ascalon region. I don't know for sure. Ascalon is unlocked for doing Shiver Peaks. And so it's like you're sort of exploring Tyria, right? You start in Kryta and slowly you unfold all these other tracks and get to go to eventually the Maguma jungle and the ruins of Ore and so forth. That doesn't necessarily mean the rewards from those boxes will be better later on. It's just a nice way to unfold all of the tracks for you so you're not overwhelmed. That's how you are rewarded in PvP now. Don't forget that just for completing matches flatly in PvP, you are also given a gold bonus straight up. So it really is just unified into the full game. You're getting gold, you're getting mats, you're getting skins for different areas, and supposedly you can do almost everything to create a legendary weapon purely from PvP. I don't know how profitable PvP is compared to PvE right now, but I would suspect not as profitable as, you know, some of the big farms you can do. Anyway, we've been talking about for PvP for so long, and I haven't even come here. So you'll notice my look hasn't changed. There's no more PvP-specific stuff. Literally, everything is unified. You will see some new stuff on the UI, though. Up at the top, mainly, we've got this little hotbar thing here. One will take you to the arenas, solo arena. This is just one of the tabs. So this was the open one, the statistics tab. Then we had the reward tracks. Next is arena. This is exactly as it always is. You could just click it very quickly. Below that is game browsers, which again, you can click very quickly. However, there is now another new one called PvP build. I feel like there should be a tab under this window, but apparently it's not. The last one down here is custom arenas, in case people were wondering. This is PvP build. This is a new way to quickly equip your PvP build. This isn't template. This isn't the same as what you see in other games where you can like copy paste a code from a website and it will automatically load it and you can save and keep lots of builds at once. But it is very easy to equip builds now. You can no longer go like 5 of one type of rune and 1 of another type of rune. You just go full into the set, and this makes it really easy to equip runes now. So this is my gear, literally my weapon. These are the sigils I have on them. My amulet, which dictates the majority of my PvP stats, and these are my runes. That's everything right there, and you can just click it to quickly swap. Okay, I don't want to be Scepter main hand, I want to be Dagger main hand. Boom, there you go. I don't want to have a Sigil of Energy, I want to have a Sigil of Bloodlust on there. Boom, there you go, it's done. Oh, I don't like the Strength runes, instead I'm going to be going for runes of Air, because I like the lightning procs that come off of them. Boom. Soldier is rubbish, I'm a better player than that, I'm going to go with a Berserker's Amulet. That's all my gear done. You've got another tab down here, which is for traits, and that would be you set up for PvP. You get the same look as your PvE guy, but you very quickly swapped all of your stuff around. And I believe further refinements will come to this cool little system later on down the line that does allow you to then say, oh, I've got all this, okay, I'm going to click save, and then it's done. And I'm going to call this my random Zerk build, right? And you're done. So, moving on from that, let's talk about traits, since that's what we've just sort of got ourselves onto. Traits have changed in a big way. It used to be you'd have to spend 5 points. First of all, you can refund your traits any way you like for free. I should mention that. That's pretty huge. A lot of people will be very excited about it. Further, if your armor is damaged, which mine currently is, you still have to go and to an NPC to repair it, but it's free to do so. However, traits have changed thusly. I'll reset them there. This used to cost me 5 points to go up to Flame Barrier, and it was kind of dumb. Like, why would you ever not go 5 points? Why would you go 4 or 3 or 2? It never really existed. So instead of making you click 5 times and calling it 5 points, now it's just 1 point. So there you go. We're now 1 in Fire Magic to get that. It means that when we used to say we were 30 in a line, we're actually now just 6 in a line. As you can see there, 6. So the nomenclature has changed a little, but really it just means everything's much more efficient and easy, and I think it'll be easier for people to understand now. 6 trait points in, I can equip anything in these major slots. They've changed the UI a little, so if I want the Adept slot, instead of it coming up in a little thing here with Roman numerals, that weren't that cool, now I just see all of them displayed out here on the left. So say I want Lava Tomb, there you go, I've got it. Let's say now I want Conjurer, there you go, I've got it. Let's say I want the number 3 Ember's Might, because these are clearly the best builds where you go 1, 2, 3, and then down here I'm going to go 4, 5, 6. If I wanted to do that, this is how the new traits work, and at max level, therefore, that means you have 14 trait points, 6 for this line, 6 and 2 here. And this mostly has a ramification for the way PvE works. Used to be after a certain level you'd get a trait point every level. Now you can't because there's far less trait points. That means not every level is going to feel really cool to get, but when you finally do get a new trait point, you're going to feel pretty awesome because you're definitely going to be getting a minor slot or a major slot. Another big change, though, is as an existing player, I have all of these traits unlocked, but now these are obtained by doing specific things in PvE. So to demonstrate to you guys, in Arcane, I actually have a Grandmaster slot in this Arcane line that I don't have unlocked yet. I could slot in my Grandmaster slot Elemental Surge or Evasive Arcana. These already existed. But there's a new one here called Elemental Contingency. This trait is locked. It will tell me how to get it by hovering over this icon on the right. And it says that I need to defeat the corrupted High Priestess of Lissa. Alternatively, you can go to a Profession Trader and buy it straight out. They've actually valued these really strongly. It costs 3 gold to buy a Grandmaster. That is enough money to A, be a significant gold sink, but B, to encourage people actually to do the PvE option of doing this, which is really good. When you make a new character, all of these traits will be locked, and you're going to have to go around the world exploring and unlocking things by completing certain meta events, finding certain things, completing personal story, and so forth. It should make leveling up a lot more fun. To talk about the traits themselves, there's been a new trait added for there's loads of balance changes, but also there's been a new Grandmaster added to every single line for every single profession. I'll talk to you guys about the Ellie ones. Largely, I'm not that enthused. I feel like the fire one could be very interesting for PvP. This is blind foes that you burn. I've been playing in PvE with the new air magic one, which is call down lightning on an interrupted foe. The lightning strikes can crit quite high, the base damage is not too bad, and there is no internal cooldown on this. However, the thing is, Ellie doesn't have too many ways to interrupt people. But having said that, in World vs. World, if you run Staff and you hit a Zerg with a static field or an Earth 4, you get a ton of interrupts. And so this will also be lightning striking the poop out of them and applying regen to weakness to all of them, which could be very interesting to see. I've just not played with it that much. The Earth Magic one looks like it's going to be huge for PvP. Stoneheart, while attuned to Earth, you cannot be critically hit. This is a lot like a previous one they added, Diamond Skin. You cannot be condied while you're at a certain health threshold. I think Stoneheart will add some very interesting gameplay. Earth Attunement generally offers many lackluster skills to Elementalists, so if they are camping in this attunement to bunk in some way, they also cannot, for example, heal or cleanse themselves, or they cannot have access to free evades. But this should be very interesting. I'm not going to pretend to talk about the PvP meta right now. It's been thrown out of whack, and I haven't played it enough to understand. The Water Magic one I've been trying to play with. This is why I'm in Healing Power gear. You can expect a video soon about this. Healing done to allies is increasing effectiveness by 25%. Kind of interesting, sure, but I don't know how amazing it is. This is a new mechanic that's been added to the game, however. This idea of healing effectiveness being added to allies, and there are now a new sigil and a new rune in the game which offer that functionality, which I can show you guys. The rune set is the runes of the monk, which come from Ascot Catacombs, and the tier 6 gives you that bonus to healing effectiveness. And there is also a sigil, which is a stacking sigil. And I don't know which is better. Do you want to go a Sigil of Life, which is just a flat boost to heal power? Or do you want to go Benevolence, which is to a percentage to healing done? It's kind of crazy. I'm trying all the new stuff at once, and the healing's interesting, but I was trying it on a Staff, and I don't think it was that great. That does segue me nicely into rune changes, however. There's been loads. I cannot talk about all of them in the video. Look, we've already been 25 minutes and I've barely even got to new stuff that we didn't know was coming into the game. So you just have to trust me. A lot of the rune stuff has changed. And it looks like strength runes are going to be pretty huge because of a new warrior grandmaster. I really can't say. I will say I invested heavily into crate runes before the patch because crate runes have changed in functionality a lot. They exploded in price for a little while and then they dropped back down. If you play a Condi player, particularly while leveling up, crate runes might actually be good to go for because they're really cheap to craft. They're like 10 silver to craft, and the set is now really good. Crate used to have on the tier 6, oh, more power underwater, nobody cared, and now it's like Torment, Poison, and Bleeds together. Anyway, I invested in those and actually made a quick buck off of them, which was what enabled me to eventually get my stuff, which was pretty cool. There should be footage of me crafting that and running around like a lunatic somewhere in the video. Back to PvP stuff, because I did just realize I forgot some things. They retroactively boosted all of our levels. I did talk a little bit about this. I'm now Dragon rank. You can see this written here. this I'm actually kind of sour about, alright? It does mean I get a new rank finisher, which when I first saw it, I thought was amazing. I was like, oh, yeah, and I tweeted about it, and I thought it was really, really cool. There you go. You can see it all the way up there for you guys. And I think that's cool, but also a lot of people have that now. They also fixed the bug that you could do where you could make it enormous with the plastic spider, so I'm sad about that. Maybe the bug still exists with stuff like Lich Form, but I'm really unsure. And yeah, in general, I don't know. I did the slash rank a few times, and now I'm bored of it. I was more sad to see as well that not only did they bump all of our ranks, but a lot of the really epic, interesting PvP achievements that had genuine prestige behind them and were so cool, I have just automatically unlocked, okay? So, like, Marauder, I think is what I was at before. Maybe I was Ransacker. Actually, I think I was a Ransacker. And I was working towards Ravager. I was almost a Ravager, I think is what I was. But I've unlocked so many titles now. I've got Reaper. Reaper was a ridiculous title that just, it would have been so cool to see on people, and now it's just been lost to people here. Mistwalker, I've randomly unlocked this now. Legendary Champion, I've unlocked this title. This is just sad for me to see. Even worse than me just unlocking them and them all being suddenly devalued, I also now can never experience the thrill of ticking through these titles as they come, and I barely even know what order they're meant to come in, and I think that's a real shame and something I'm sad that I'll never get to experience. It's a bit like how I've unlocked a bunch of stuff in my vault and I'll never get to experience sort of, you know, going to different karma vendors and unlocking them because it just all came from PvP. I get that they're retroactively rewarding us, they're compensating us, but it makes me sad. It makes me sad that I've missed out on all of these things. And, I don't know, I'm still going to be repping Volunteer rather than any of these titles, even though I could have Legendary Champion, which I'm sure no one would care about anyway. It does mean that I can potentially complete my PvP section now just by playing a bunch of the other classes a bit more. But, yeah, this is the only one that hasn't been ticked up, the Conqueror, which is 5,000 matches in PvP. And actually, that's not the max tier. I think it's 10,000 wins or matches in PvP to max out. They didn't change that, so thank God. But there's no title there anyway, so whatever. We talked about runes. Sigils have also changed too, as I mentioned with the Sigil of Benevolence. Many cooldowns have changed. You can now have 2 sigils on a 2-handed weapon. This was one of the reasons I was happy to go for the Bifrost now. So look at that huge flavor text description on these weapons now. Absolutely immense. Got the Bifrost and then a huge description on one of the sigils, huge description on the other one potentially, double infusion slots. It's kind of ridiculous, especially when you've got Legendary. And again, there's going to be a lot of changes out in the sigil market. One of the big ones that a friend of mine invested in was Paralyzation, which has moved from 15% before the patch to 30% after the patch, which he tells me is pretty huge for Hammer Warriors, for example, in World vs. World. And yeah, there's just loads of stuff going on with the TP that we may as well just leave there. Now, what they did with the runes was all the stats have been globally buffed. You'll notice here I get 25 healing power, 50 healing power, and then 100 healing power. This is actually more healing power than this rune set once gave me, in addition to the other core changes to it. That's happened globally. All runes in the game, the amount of stats they give you have been boosted up, except for crit damage. Crit damage has remained the same. Overall, building for crit damage is now about 10% worse than it used to be. However, they've also rolled the base 150% crit damage into your core stat here. So you can see I've got 156% critical damage on my character now. So, yes, you have been nerfed slightly, as far as I'm aware. But at the same time, many other stats are being incentivized in the game. And say you're on Scholar Runes, which I am on one of my sets. Yeah, the crit damage hasn't gone up, but the power's gone up on it. And I feel like the change is really not going to be that huge. Marginal at best. But this does mean we've got some new stuff in the attribute section of our hero panel. And they had to add Ferocity. So to make room for it, they actually removed a stat known as Attack. It used to be you'd have Power here and then Attack next to it. And the Attack stat was the combination of your power from traits and runes and stuff combined with the attack strength of your weapon. You can see it says weapon strength there. But it was actually a useless indicator, a useless number that didn't really mean anything for the game as far as I'm aware. And so they've removed it now. It does mean that you can't see the combination of both your weapon strength and your other stuff together, but I don't think it really means anything in the long run. Does healing power and support work now? I'll talk to you guys about it in another video. I'd like to conclude the video with just some other facts about things that changed with the patch that we didn't realize were going to be there. Number 1 on the list, okay, is pretty huge. I cannot believe they didn't do a blog post about this. It was announced, okay, it was on the forums and it was on live streams. There's no blog post about it. I really think there should have been. There is an entirely new PvP map in the game. I believe this is the 4th that the devs have added. They actually removed a map too, Raid on the Capricorn, and many underwater elements of PvP have been completely eliminated and removed. So, for example, Legacy of the Foe Fire had a a little bit of water in there before. That's now no longer a part of the game. And the underwater themed map, Raid on the Capricorn, which was a great map, has just been eliminated. You can no longer play it, you can no longer see the art assets, and for that reason I feel like it's a shame. It's one of those things I think that they should somehow incorporate into Living World. You know, this should be a part of a new map that maybe we go to. It's a part of a larger pirate dock or city or something. That would be cool, but as far as they're now concerned, that's just not a part of Guild Wars 2. It's been replaced with another new map, which is a team deathmatch map. This is not a conquest map. It does not appear in the arenas or tournament rotations. It is purely something for custom arenas and hot joins for people to set up. But it's literally no more capture point stuff. It's just fight one another. This is something that I think a lot of casual PvPers, a lot of PvEers, a lot of people outside of the scene have wanted for ages. And I guess they got it now. I feel like ArenaNet, you know, boosting how easily you can gain ranks, putting the reward tracks in there, and also this new map are really making a big push now to build up a large casual scene for the PvP game type, which is what you need for a competitive scene to rise out of it too. It's a new map with new assets. There will be footage on the background of it. It looks quite cool. It's jungle themed. Should this be a surprise to us considering what Season 2 of the Living World seems like it's going to be? Probably not. I can't say anything to you guys about it lore-wise. Honestly, there's never really been any decent lore in any of those maps. It just looks pretty. It's got kind of a nice skybox. It's a small courtyard around a large tree in the middle, and it reminded me a little bit of another old map, but it's very basic. Because it's not a conquest map, I think that the devs probably could have had a lot more fun designing it, because really they don't have to consider so much. It's just, hey, this is a place for people to go and fight, and they've got some interesting terrain things in there, but it's quite a small map, and that's it. It's very cool though, and I like that they added a new map. I think this should have been a part of the blog post, absolutely. They also did something I find very interesting, and I don't know whether I'm really qualified to talk about it right now. One thing I really enjoyed while I used to PvP, though, was at the end of the match, when the scoreboard came up, it would show everyone's rank next to their name. One of your biggest reasons for wanting to rank up is to show off to people. Let's be honest here. I wanted to get to rank 50, or rank 60 as it was by the end, because when that match ended, it would be, oh yeah, that guy's rank 60, that's really cool. You don't see many of those. At the top end, those guys that got rank 70, that was a cool feeling for them, not because they could spam /rank in Heart of the Mist. You can't use /rank in the actual matches. It was because, you know, it was always going to be displayed there for other people. It's like, oh, I got wrecked by that guy, but it's okay, he's rank 70. Oh, I absolutely crapped on that guy in that match, and he was a rank 70 guy? That's amazing, that's so cool. This was a big part of PvP for me. I really enjoyed it. They've removed that. I can see why they might have, because with new players coming into the scene, their team loses, everyone looks at them and says, oh my god, you're rank 10, you're the reason we lost, even though it probably wasn't their fault. And as I just said, I think this is all a big push to get lots of new people into PvP, and that's something that can alienate them in the early days. However, it's something that can make them stay in the later days. And what are we trying to do here? We're trying to make them stay. I don't know whether I agree with the change, therefore, but that is something that's happened. It may sound minor, oh, it's just a number that's been removed from the leaderboard, but aside from stomping people with rank-specific finishes, there's really no way to tell whether the person that just beat you is actually good at the game or not. And that was a big sense of the progression in there for me. Not this, you know, PvE, gold farming, legendary mat stuff. It was ranking up, and so much of that has been diminished now with the way that the game works. It's easier to do, and you can't really show it off anyway. Moving away from PvP, another huge change that people would have loved to have heard. You know, they had that one blog post that was really weak on content. Fixed a bug that caused the camera height to not change depending on the scale of the character. Before this patch, the camera height would be fixed at a certain level, a certain height, depending on your race. Norn would get it the highest, Asura would get it the smallest. However, those scales, those sliders in character creation that would make you bigger or smaller, never changed that scale. So if you were a really big Asura or a really big Norn, that character would take up a huge amount of your camera's real estate and make you really want to zoom out as far as you possibly could. And even when zoomed out as far as you possibly could be, you would always be angling your camera down somewhat so that you could see as much terrain in front of you as possible. They have now changed this so that the camera moves with character scale, and this has changed the way you look at Tyria in a big way. This is almost as big as an FOV change. You will notice now you can have that over-the-shoulder look that you get in a lot of other third-person games, where your camera can really be level behind someone, and you can be comfortably zoomed in a certain amount and appreciate a lot more of the immersion and detail in the game that you could before. It was a really big, crippling thing. Lots of people complained about it, brought it to the devs' attention, and this has been fixed now. That is really big, and I know a lot of people would be very pleased about it. I noticed immediately when I logged onto my my Char character that it felt so much more fun and fluid running around with that camera. I should have some footage demonstrating it on one of my random Norn characters that's like a name reservation for when the Tengu come out. It does also introduce some other weird elements of the gameplay, particularly for PvP, where if you make the big characters, you actually get more awareness. You really do. I even noticed on the old system, while playing my Norn, it actually allowed me to see more people coming at, like, say, my node than when I was on my Asuran character. There's actually a bit of a balance there. Everyone loves to go Asuran characters in PvP at the moment because under all the skill effects you can hide while 100 blading people, for example. But now there is actually a benefit to be these really massive, meaty characters, and there is more awareness available to you. And I don't know how significant that's going to be, but I like that it's a part of the game, honestly. The next big and unexpected thing that worried me to read it in the patch notes was their changes to the heart quests. Before the patch, you complete a heart quest, and the NPC you were supposedly helping, though you may never have seen them before in your life, would send you a mail saying, "Aha, thank you." You know, this really generic, lame NPC dialogue. This stuff that I spent so long complaining about at launch, about how it was completely uninspired and boring and couldn't match traditional quests in any way. Well, in the patch notes, they explain that there are no longer mails for completing renown events. Instead, you get a splash, they called it. And I was like, what does this mean? Have they removed those mails? I would have been a little bit sad about that. As bad as those mails are, as quickly as players are taught to just ignore the hell out of everything that NPC says, grab their gold and delete it, at least it was a little bit of lore, and I was scared that they'd removed it entirely. They haven't done that. Basically now, when you complete a renown quest, instead of it being that NPC's giving you a mail and it clogs up your mail, you're constantly having to delete them, you know, you've got other stuff you want to keep in there, people that other players have messaged you about. Instead, now, in the bottom right where you'd get, say, a bonus chest, you get a new icon, which is like a heart, you click it, and that's where you get your rewards. It will have all the lore I say with the quotes there, written for you, and it will also tell you the karma you got, and the gold you got for completing that renown event, and it will even tell you, hey, you unlocked this merchant, which is kind of nice, and actually I feel like points to perhaps features we'll see in new maps where completing heart events unlocks more than just vendors for you. Right now it's gone to the effort of saying, hey, you unlocked this. You notice how so much of this patch is unlocked, unlocked, unlocked. I feel like now they can add new maps, and in those new maps for completing those hearts you can unlock a variety of things, like skins just for completing a heart, as well as vendors and so forth. So that's pretty interesting, something they changed, and I suppose it makes sense because I was just criticizing it. Hey, you've never met this NPC and they just sent you a mail? Well, now, you know, it's just this weird floating thing in the UI, and maybe that's better in some way. Weird change that they never talked about before. Another big thing, I remember this around launch, many of the patches around launch came with this stuff, new weapon and armor icons. When the game first came out, there were so few icons, and in this game, honestly, the icon is a huge part of what an item is. And there were still many duplicates, many that didn't have unique icons, and they've done another huge sweep with adding a bunch more. You'll be running around in the game now getting weapons and stuff and be like, oh my god, is that a totally new thing? And it's not. It's something you've probably had before, but now its icon represents the fact it is a unique skin in some way. So for example, my Charzuka now doesn't have a generic rifle icon on it. It's got its own one. Many of the precursors that previously shared icons with other weapons, and like you'd get trolled in the Mystic Forge because you got Yusuku's needle out, for example, those all now have their own unique icons too, and that is a big thing to me. I do appreciate when they change those. The last change that they never announced was going to happen, but I really want to pick out from the patch notes here, is the fact that boss chests from dungeons are now just one per day. They've slowly been making the change that they only want you to do a certain dungeon path once per day. They obviously added heavy diminishing returns. Much of it isn't profitable to do multiple times a day anymore, and this is like another big slap down to that. There really is so little reason to do the same dungeon twice in a day, and now even the chests from the drop on the floor after killing those bosses will only appear just the once. This doesn't affect many things. I farmed the Bifrost hardcore the past couple of weeks. This is honestly a reason why there haven't been so many videos. Every single day I've done many of the paths of pretty much every single dungeon in the game, and that's been a lot of fun. So this won't actually affect me because I was always doing different paths. However, there was one interesting farm from the Twilight Arbor Aetherblade path. I actually did recently get into running this with somewhat frequency because the boss chest at the end of that dungeon had a chance to drop some really, really expensive skins, and it wasn't on diminishing returns. The rates was ridiculously low, but at least you could get a really good group at it and slam through that dungeon in, say, 20 minutes to half an hour over and over and over again, and really feel a good sense of progression with your friends as you got really good at it, and potentially get these insane drops at the end. But now that, like, whole farm, that whole one redeeming factor factor of that new path that was added to the game has been eliminated with this. And I can't say I'm happy to see that, because it was something I neglected for a long time, and I only went back to it because of that. And now I feel like there's many other players who will just ignore the Aether path, despite the fact it's one of the best designed paths that's in Guild Wars 2 at the moment. Like, there's stuff you've got to focus on. Finally, let's talk about mega servers. Not for too long. They originally announced that mega servers was slowly going to be rolled out as the year went away, right? They wanted to make sure that stuff wasn't bugged. However, they've curtailed that in even further than their original statement. Originally, it was going to be the cities and the low-level zones that had the new mega server system. That is not in the game. I've seen so many comments of people, even in awe, saying, oh, these mega servers are so good. Mega servers aren't in the game right now. The only place that mega servers are working is Heart of the Mists, the PvP lobby area. That is it. And again, this ties into, I'm sure, their push for PvP on this patch. That is the only place that they have risked putting mega servers in. But they also said that instead of it being like a really slow rollout, it could be more rapid than you'd be expecting. But there are no mega servers for anywhere else, and you are literally still only seeing your regular server. The reason why it might look like there's a really high population is because this is such a huge patch and many people have come back to the game. Do be aware of that. And that's pretty much everything. So there you go, guys. That's the video on the patch. I know it's really long, but what can I say? It's a huge patch, and like, you can't get around that. I want to be exhaustive as ever. Let me know if I missed anything. I'm sure there's loads of small things people have noticed. Balanced stuff, ways that you may have made money. Please feel free to talk about it. How do you feel that the new boss rotations are working? I haven't played with that too much. There's just honestly so much to do and so little time to do it. I will be having more videos coming out, particularly about builds that I'm playing with, and the state of my locker and collections that I'll be going for and stuff like that. Anyway, thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you're having fun. If you've been out of Guild Wars 2 for a while, maybe this incentivizes you to come back in for a bit. And if so, I guess I'll see you in there. Thanks guys. We'll be doing a weird farm in just a couple of days. I'll be making an announcement soon. And have a good evening. I'll catch you next time.